is like this. And so there is that within us that can lift us up to where we go, oh, I really screwed this up. You didn't screw it up. You are working out the details to have what you want. Oh, I really need to get rid of all of this junk that's in me. There is no junk in you.
We create our experience. That's what I love about the Science of Mind teaching, is that it gives all of the power to the individual regardless of what circumstances they find themselves in. I love to get emails from people in other countries that don't have the socioeconomic support that we do, and they're still demonstrating money and health and opportunity and joy and love. They're still doing that because law is law. It doesn't matter where you are or what is happening. The power is within us. We are the ones that decide what kind of a day we're going to have. Whether we gave it away the moment we awakened, oh, what a terrible day it is. So many things are out to get me. We just gave our day away, and then we wonder why we live a day not of our liking. When we can claim the day, when we can own the day, when we can own our life, when we can own our experiences, it doesn't matter what's going on around us. It doesn't matter whether the team is the number one team in the league. It doesn't matter whether we're the underdogs. It doesn't matter whether things didn't go the way I thought they should go. It doesn't matter because we have our head wrapped around our life. And people say, oh, well, I'm getting my whole life together. I don't want to get my whole life together. I want to get my moment together. I want to get my day together. Because if I get my day together, my life will fall into place. Whatever your fear is, you made a story up about it, and you're going to look for things that support that story. You're going to complain about them to energize them, to build them up, to make them real. Don't do that. Shift your consciousness. Look at it differently. Is it really the old lady? Is it the young lady? Is it really the chalice, or is it two faces? Whatever it is that you see it to be, it will be. Shift your consciousness. Whatever your fear is what you're talking about. So listen to what you're talking about. If you're complaining about something, it all goes back to fear. And fear is all about separation and not feeling good enough and not being connected and all of that easy peasy stuff. Easy peasy to let go of. Move into a state of gratitude. And I love this idea of oneness because it is so pervasive in everything that I believe. The idea of oneness says that you cannot have half of something without the other half. So you cannot have a desire for something and not have the thing of which you desire. Think about it. If you could think a thought that said, boy, I really want to have a life where fill in the blank, and that didn't exist for you, then there would be an empty spot in the universe. The whole idea of an infinite would not hold together. All of that quantum physics is based on would be shot. Time and space would no longer exist, and we wouldn't be here. Everything that you can think of exists. It's not that everything that you can think of you can have. Everything that you think of is already yours. You already have it. And so when I look at lives and I go, what in the world is it that is blocking so much good from our lives? I'm reminded of the story of the Western man that goes to see the Tibetan monk. And the Tibetan monk offers tea, and the Western man is, oh, yeah, the Tibetan monk is going to give me tea, hot stuff. And so the monk brings out the saucer and the teacup, and the Western man holds the cup, and the monk starts filling up the cup. And the monk does not stop when the cup is full. The monk continues to pour and allows the tea to overflow and overflow and overflow all over the Western visitor, who is insulted. How dare you pour hot tea on me? And the monk says, how can you learn anything when your cup is already full? And I love this idea of freedom. In Science of Mind, what we learn is that our freedom is already a given. Nobody can give it to us, and therefore no one can take it away. Our freedom is not contingent upon any person, place, or thing. And so we don't have to have things all organized and right to be able to be free. Our freedom is within us. And as we choose to experience freedom, we create that freedom. And it doesn't matter what has happened in the past. It doesn't matter what we have told ourselves about whether or not we can or cannot be free. Our freedom is a God-given right. It is inherent in our nature to be free. And when we take that freedom, we can take it in any circumstance. We can take it no matter what condition is going on. This is our freedom because we are the ones who choose what we will think about, what we will talk about, and what we will believe in our lives. Gratitude creates happiness. You want to be happy? Go around and start being grateful for something. Did anybody walk here? Great. Be grateful for your car. Honestly, if you're grateful for your car, it will run better. If you're grateful for your car, chances are you'll take the trash out of it, maybe wash it once in a while, and it'll look better. Be grateful for your body. Be grateful for your job. If you're going to go to work somewhere, be grateful for it.
If you have an opportunity to be generous, you should take it. Because what that does is that sets in law that I have more than enough so that I can be generous, so that I can give out into the world. Wallace Wattles says one of the tenets of being rich and getting great is to overfill your place, to always give out more than you take. And when we shift our focus, when we practice, when we're diligent, when we're tenacious, when we're committed to this idea that we're going to pull our attention back from that which we do not wish to have, from the conditions of life, and focus only on the power and the presence within us that is manifesting joy and prosperity and health and happiness, we can do anything.
When we come into this teaching, the initial promise is that all has been given, not by an outside power deciding if we're worthy of that or not, but it is just the essence of life itself that has already given us the fruits of life because we are alive, that has already set a space for us where we belong, where we are safe, where we are loved, that we don't have to prove ourselves, we don't have to turn into someone that we're not. We can simply open and accept the amazing experiences of this life. There is a science to getting rich, and that, yes, you can be rich. My goodness, if I could have seen ahead in time from when I was given blood plasma twice a week, they won't take my blood anymore. It's been so skewed. Twice a week, if I could have seen the life that I was going to have today, I would have meditated more, I would have treated more, I would have paid more attention to classes, I would have gotten here faster. But I got here in my own time doing what I needed to do. And even though we are well versed in these ideas of prosperity, happiness, and joy, sometimes we fall backwards. Has anybody ever fallen backwards? You got it all going together? Okay, Barbara, I want to master money in my life. Okay, well, my first question is, are you tithing? No. Well, that's the thing, that the reason that we don't give our money away is based in fear. And so if we're holding on to an idea of fear, then what are we creating but fear? We're creating that which we are afraid of, that which I have feared has come upon me. We are focusing a master power of creation in our lives, and if we're holding on to a sense of lack and limitation, then we're going to demonstrate the outpicturing of the lack and the limitation, and then we're going to point to the demonstration of the lack and the limitation and say, I knew it. And what we should do is say, I did that. I did that. In a universe of infinite prosperity, I managed to create lack. I am so powerful. It's like when people come to see me and they go, well, I'm so lonely. Really? With 7.5 billion people on this planet alone, you're lonely? You are a master at keeping your good away. So if we know that it's the same mind that can create prosperity and abundance and health and wholeness that created the lack and the limitation, then we can get on our horse and steer it where we want it to go. We can take it to where we want to be. We are meant to be happy. Today is a happy day. Happy day is on Chris's license plate outside. Today is a happy day. We are meant to be happy. You know, even the Dalai Lama says the whole purpose in life is to be happy. Really? The Dalai Lama. You're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to prosper, perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. These three things fit together so well. Some people say, well, I can't be happy until I have all the things I need to have. No. Happiness is an inside job. Happiness is all about your choices, your experiences in life, how you're spinning the tales that you tell yourself, and how you're creating your life. If you are dependent upon being happy before you can have a physical healing or a relationship or more money in your life, and you have a neurotic, dysfunctional unconscious that says, I don't get to be happy, I don't get to have these things because I don't deserve them, because somehow there's something wrong with me, there's a black mark in my soul, I'm a miserable sinner and I need to be punished. If we've got that going on even on an unconscious level, then we're going to sabotage our healing, our relationships, and our finances so that we don't get to be happy. Sometimes you just have to suck it up and be happy anyway. Nothing is happening to us. Nothing is out of our control because we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth. We are the ones who have all of our answers. We have all of our guidance. We have all of the opportunity that we ever need. Paracelsus. Truth lies within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things, whate'er we may believe. There is an innermost center in everyone where truth abides in fullness. And to know consists rather of opening out a way from which the imprisoned splendor may escape, rather than effecting entry from a light supposed to be without. Robert Browning. Truth lies within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things, whate'er you may believe. Nothing can give you truth. There's an innermost center within everyone where truth abides in fullness. Not partial truth, not half-truth, fullness. And to know requires that we open up and let it out instead of try to get it from things outside of us. Trying to get people to do things, trying to get situations to match my image of what I think I want. No, we are the only ones that have our answers, and we have to let them out. That we are one with all that is. We are connected to all that is. I am you and you are me. And that as I open my spirit eyes to that, I see God all around me. And that there is something very special within us. We're not just one of 7.5 billion. We are the point of energy of the creative force of all of life showing up as us. Troward says, my mind is a center of divine operation. I say God showed up as us, with our face, with our life, with our thoughts, with our deeds. God shows up as us. But whatever it is, it's not a thing, it's not solid, it's not the space part of time and space. Whatever it is the godding of us, the spiriting of us, the living of life as us. And it is constantly moving. We are constantly vibrating. That's why we are beings of light, because we come from the light. And we are the light. It is our job to be the light. How can we open up to more of anything if we're holding on to less? And that comes in very many subtle ways. Holding on to ideas of, well, that's the way that it is. No, that's the way that it was. Let it go. Well, this is what happened to me. Well,
that happened in the past. Let it go. Well, only certain things are possible. You remember that old adage of, well, I'm only human? No, you are divine. Let it go. Well, it's impossible. Let it go. It's never happened before. Let it go. I don't have what it takes. Let it go. Whenever we are full inside of our cup of that which we used to be, there is no room for that greater good to demonstrate. And so we have to learn to let go. And I'll give you, as a culture, we're terrible at it. We're terrible at letting go. Slip out the back, Jack. Make a new plan, Stan. No need to be coy, Roy. 50 ways to leave your lover that do not include talking to them.
Ernest Holmes says, nothing is real unless you make it real. Nothing is real unless you make it real. You're the one who decides if it's real. You're the one who energizes it into physical form, and then you look at it and say, well, I knew it was real all along. No, you made that real. No one can hurt you unless you allow them to hurt you. And so he says, refuse to have the feelings hurt. Notice he says the feelings. They're not your feelings. You picked them to just do them for a little while. You're doing joy, you're doing anger, you're doing upset, you're doing happiness. They come and go at your choice. Refuse to have the feelings hurt. Refuse to receive anyone's criticism or condemnation. In the independence of your own mentality, know that you are wonderful. You are wonderful. That's not conceit, that's the truth. What could be more wonderful than the manifestation of infinite mind as you?
Really getting that we are freaking amazing. We are spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth, creating our lives in love and joy, in happiness, in prosperity and health and wholeness. That's our job. Our job is to enjoy our lives. Our job is to sit at the table where the fruits of life have been set before us. If you will be willing to look at yourself in the face and say no more, I no longer will allow myself to be ruled by fear. I no longer will allow myself to talk to myself that way. I no longer will allow myself to live a small life. I'm not going to do it. Because what's in store for me is so much bigger than what I've had in the past that I don't want to hold on to the past. I want to let go completely and jump forward into my future. I deserve to live the life that I was created to live. You deserve to live the life that you were created to live. There's nothing stopping you except what's going on in here.
Being, the presence of the divine, is always becoming into form. That this vase is actually the presence of spirit coalescing into form as that vase as we speak. And that it is our observance of it that connects us with that infinite possibility of the vase right here. And that if we could see clearly, we could actually see it shimmer and flow into form. Everything in our life is shimmering and flowing into form. It is being, becoming as everything. Always. It is what we are. There is nothing static. There is nothing outside of it. We are not spiritual beings and then there's a God somewhere.
I mean, you take this amazing power called Barbara Waterhouse and you focus it on poverty, and boy, I can do it. Until I learn that I don't have to do it, that I can do something different, that I can experience life fully, completely, joyfully. I can have more money than I ever dreamed possible. I can be married even though he has those traveling feet. I can be married to someone who's amazing.
I want you to have your best life ever. I want you to have more money than you know how to spend. I want you to have a body that jumps out of bed in the morning and says, bring it on. Bring on the day. Let's put on this day and go out and live it. I want you to have relationships where you get lost in each other's eyes. And when you decide to do something, I want every door to open, the red carpet to roll out in front of you, everything to be put together already, so that when you show up, it falls into place. And the way that we have that is to find the good. To find the good in each and every circumstance and every situation, so that we can live the life that we are meant to live.
There is no outside power that is saying you have to suffer. There is no outside power that is saying here is the dangle of joy and happiness, but you don't get it because of something that you did years gone by or lifetimes gone by or whatever. There is nothing outside of us. We are it. But the way that we use it is so important. I love this teaching. I love Ernest Holmes. One of the things that he wrote that so touches me is, such is the power of right thinking, that it cancels and erases anything unlike itself. It answers every question, solves any problem, and is the solution to everything in your life. It is like the light of eternal truth that bursts forth through the clouds of obscurity and blesses the world with glory. It is the absolute with which we are dealing, and nothing less. With
It is
glory.
our job to bring the love into our experience. When I allow myself to be clear, then I can demonstrate anything. It is our summer to prosper. Prospering is mandatory, because we will not hide behind playing small.
And when we change the way we see the world, we change the world we get to see. Did you catch that? Very important. Very important. Find the good in your life. Jesus said, I am in the world, but not of it. That's the thing. I want to be able to use these wonderful, lofty, metaphysical ideas of oneness and bring them right down into my life. I want to have what I want to have. I want to go where I want to go. I want to be who I want to be. I want to do what I want to do, but I don't want to get lost in it. And that's what I think makes us different. That when we believe that the world of two-ness is all that there is, we can get lost in the world of two-ness. When we believe that what's going on the news is real, we can get lost in it. When we believe that our story is all that there is to us, we can get lost in it. But when we can step beyond that and see the bigger picture that says there is a power and a presence within each one of us that can carry us over every obstacle, that has the answer to every question, the solution to every problem, and all we need to do is to depend on that, to rely on that, to give it half a chance, to just stop telling it to shut up, but to listen to it, then we can have miracles happen in our lives.
That means that you are the point of God. How you doing? Are you living your God life? Are you seeing with your God eyes? Are you loving with your God heart? How are you doing? Are you living the blessed life, the rich life, the full life? I love springtime because after all of the illusion of winter and losing everything, the trees are stripped bare, most of them. They have lost their apples from last season. They have lost their leaves. They have lost some branches. They have been through it, and they stand there naked. And maybe some of them go, oy vey. Happy Passover. Oy vey, it's all gone. Something has taken from me everything that I have worked so hard for. And then springtime comes. And somewhere from the depths of them, and literally from the deep roots, from the inside of their trunk, rises up something that botanists may call sap, but I call life, I call spirit, I call God, I call power. That there is a power and a presence within us, symbolized by the trees, that rises up within us and bursts forth into a whole new life. There are apple trees on that bank covered with blossoms. every last flower is going to turn into an apple. And in that apple, there will be seeds that can turn into countless, infinite apple trees. If that's going on in a tree, what's going on in you? What's going on in me?
All right.
So what I want us to do is to get that we've got the ability to shift our experiences in our lives by looking at what's good about them. Looking at what is positive, what is strong, what is wonderful, what's the gift in this? And there's a gift in everything. There's good in everything. There's a blessing in everything. But if we are not finding it, we have our eyes closed. We have an opportunity each and every morning to awaken and decide what kind of a day we're going to have. Are we going to have a great day where things come together in serendipity and synchronicity and balance and harmony for our best? Or are we going to have a day that everything is just awful? We're at that choice. But that means we have to be conscious upon awakening. You'd think that they go hand in hand, awakened and conscious, but not necessarily. Sometimes we can awaken in the physical form and not awaken spiritually. And so we awaken in the morning and we go, rah, 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 no coffee, the cream went bad, and oh my goodness, my hot water's off, or whatever people's issues are, and they have just screwed up their whole day. Maybe the whole rest of their life, by simply giving in to that mindset instead of, I am at a point of choice right now to decide what kind of day I will have. And so, being the aware spiritual being that I am, I choose to have a fantastic day. Today is a happy day. Today is the best day ever.
To fix your attention on the best is to draw to you only the best. And sometimes it'll be tempting to say this isn't the best. How in the world could there be a best? There can't be a pony in here. It's a pile of pony poop. And yet if we claim it and name it and know it and grow it, we'll get a pony out of there. But it takes mental discipline to do that. Is when he said, the mountain will be to you what you are to the mountain. That is pure metaphysics. That life will be to you what you are to life. What are you bringing to your life? Are you bringing ideas of renewal? Are you bringing ideas of resurrection? Are you bringing ideas of triumph? Or are you bringing ideas of, it's over, I've been victimized, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. I don't know about you, but I don't have a hopeless and helpless God. I don't tell God about my big problems. I tell my problems about my big God. If you have an opportunity in your life to be generous, you put it there. So what are you going to do? You're going to go through all of the effort to create it, to put it there, and then look at it and go, no, I can't do that. I'm just not that big. Let me tell you, you are bigger than that. You are better than that. You have more within you than that little situation. What you are is the commander of the creative forces of heaven and earth. You can manifest your life any way you want it, but you have to do it. So not only if you have an opportunity to be generous, take it. If you have an opportunity to forgive, take it. Don't just use it to put another mark against someone. What kind of a life is that? What are you, the consciousness police? Well, you go around, since there is no God up on a cloud with a big book, maybe you've decided to be that. You go around and write down all the bad things you've done. And then what do? You create people around you that do those things. You know, they're perfectly nice to other people. They get around you, not so much. That's you. That's not them. It is in us to allow that which we are, that presence of spirit, carry us over any seeming obstacles in our life. Even if we die, there's no place to go. We may lay our bodies down, but where can we go? We are eternal life. We are the energy of spirit. Einstein said matter doesn't even exist.
that it is only energy slowed down enough for the senses to recognize it. That truly all there is energy and sound. Einstein. There's something within us that can supersede and transcend anything. And every time we create something, we create an opportunity for us to grow. Our resistance gets in our way. Every grape that goes into wine has to be crushed. Every diamond was held under immense pressure. When things happen, when the seed is planted in the ground, don't you think it looks around and says, oh my God, it's dark? What have I done to deserve this punishment? Not realizing that changes are taking place to grow? When we can see the conflicts and the situations in our lives as opportunities for us to really be who we've come here to be and to grow into who we've been meant to be, then we can get in touch with that.
I am the magnificent presence of Spirit. All that God is what I am right here and right now. So I always have more than enough. I have more than enough time, more than enough opportunity, more than enough patience and love, more than enough money, more than enough whatever it is. I always have more than enough, and I'm going to bring that more than enoughness into every word, every thought, and every deed of my life, because I am always setting spiritual law in motion.
Remember who you are. You don't have to have the answers to everything right away. You don't have to have the solutions. You don't even have to know what the next step is. What you have to do is remember who you are. And so I sat up in bed and I just took it in as a mantra. I remember who I am. I'm Barbara Waterhouse. I can do anything. I have proved that over and over and over again, that I can handle any circumstance. We built this place. We didn't have a nickel when we built this place. And anyone who knows anything will say, well, you can't do that. But that's what we do. We do the impossible. We do what's in front of us, knowing that whatever we need will show up at the moment that it's needed. And if it hasn't shown up, we don't need it yet. What a break. If you don't know the answer, you don't need to know it yet, because you will know at the moment you need to, whatever it is that you need to know. You will do whatever you need to do at the moment that you need to do it.
We are a point of the divine. We are an individualization of spirit, and that's different. We are not, I'm a part of God, Margot's a part of God, someone else is a part of God. No, that's not the way it is, because then we've moved from oneness into two-ness. My part and your part, they're separate. And you know, there's a lot of safety in two-ness, because if there's two-ness, then there's something that can give it to me. Yay, I'm good, maybe I'll get it. Something that can take it away from me. I couldn't help it, they took it away from me. But when there is oneness, it is all at the point of us. Transcendence transmutes. It does not rectify. So if we want to deal with rectifying, here's one thing, here's another thing, we're going to mediate it out and fix it and do all that stuff, then we're not transcending the situation. We're very much staying in the situation. Well, Barbara, do you know what they did to me? Well, if they did that to me, I'm going to do that to them. And then we're going to call in the big guns, and we're trying to rectify it. That will always keep us at the level of the problem. Whereas if we transcend that, if we move into seeing things with our God eyes, loving with our God heart, thinking with our God mind, then everything is different. Everything is a blessing. Everything is here for our good. Every being on the planet is God in form, a being of light, a being of love, in their perfect and right place, doing exactly what they're supposed to do, no matter what I think. When we can see with God's eyes, and when we can live our life as that God being that we are, everything shifts and everything changes.
I am an eternal wellspring through which Spirit moves in all of its infinite bounty. That's what I am, and I'm going to bring that into every word, every thought, and every action in my life. When I see people do that, their lives flourish.
somebody happened to mention that their money had just fallen apart. And true to my nature, I said, "Are you tithing?" And they said, "I stopped." And I said, "Are you out of your freaking mind? Are you crazy?" This teaching is a 24/7 teaching, that you don't get time off. You don't get to take weekends off or have evenings free to go into some anger and some resentment and some victimization and some trauma where you need your issue tissues. You don't get to have that. That this teaching calls us to a high state of awareness all the time if we want to have our lives change. If we want to get the benefits of this teaching, which are great, then we have to do what is required to have those come. We're coming for a reason. We've chosen to incarnate on planet Earth for a reason. And I think every time we have an opportunity to give to some kind of higher something, a higher idea, a higher energy, a higher consciousness, then we lift not only ourselves up, but we lift everybody else on the planet up. And I think that that motivation for giving is what makes us have an abundant and prosperous life. When we look at the world as blessing after blessing after blessing, then we get blessing after blessing after blessing. So, the first thing to do is to start listening to what you say. If you have a good friend, you can encourage them to help you. Really? Did you want to say that? Really? Is that what you want to create in your life? That everything is so high, everything is hard, oh, those are terrible people out there in TV land? No. You want to say life is a blessing, life is rich, life is good. That's why I have you repeat your treatment for increased income over and over and over and over a day. Every day I send you off to Dick's Sporting Good to get the clicker that counts so you can do it 100 times a day. But Barbara, what else will I do if I'm busy affirming my prosperity, health, and joy? Nothing. God is in this place because we are here. That means every place that we are, God is. Every place that we stand upon holy ground. Every word that we speak is the word of God. All of the power of creation is at the point of us right now. And as we open up to that, and instead of fighting what is that didn't fit our idea of what should be, we open up to the higher realm of what is. That God is right in the midst of this. You come from the light. You are the light. That's all that there is. It's not God and junk or me. No. You are perfect. You are whole. You are complete right here and right now. And when you get into that, you start manifesting that on the outside. You start demonstrating it in your life. And people go, oh, how'd you get that job? How'd you get funding for that project that you wanted? Oh my gosh, that person just walked into your life and everything was different. Take your power back. Don't give up. Don't say, oh, it's too hard. Oh, it's too stressful. Oh, it's too big of a deal. No, you have it all within you. Stop being at effect. Stop being bounced around by the conditions that you created in your life and move into that consciousness of cause that says, I can do anything. I can create anything. I can be safe anywhere. I can prosper under any circumstance. I can be in my joy and love no matter what. And when we do that, something starts to come alive in us. Something clicks, something opens up, and this power comes through us to lift us into that creation. It's a wonderful experience. The possibility and the potential of this teaching boggles my mind, and I've been in it for over 40 years. Our ability to reach out into thin air and to manifest into our lives is right here, but that's just the top of the surface. Our ability to open up to amounts of joy and love that are infinite is right here. I'm not going to give up on something just because it hasn't happened yet. We're in a time-space continuum. although it is the eternal now, I'm grateful that everything doesn't manifest right now. Because if everything manifested right now, then every stray thought that I had would be in my face. I'm grateful that I get a chance for a second thought. Because sometimes the first thought is not the best thought. So we always get a second chance. We always get the second thought. And we're able to bring ourselves more into alignment with who we truly are. An amazing being of light and love, set loose on planet Earth. We get into alignment with who we truly are. We are the magnificence and the abundance, the love and the joy of God itself as us. We are created to live a divine life. We are created to live the best life ever.
We are not broken. We do not need to be fixed. We are already connected. How in the world could we be alone? There is only one. Every being on the planet is another us. We are connected with all that is. The native teachers say that there is a light, a thread that connects each and every one of us to each other and to all beings and all things, because there is only one. So when I started to move into this idea that said not only was I not empty, broken, and hurt, but I was full and loved and supported, it started to change things in me.
Lighten up. This was not meant to be such a hassle, this life. It was not meant to be so hard. It was not meant to be such a struggle. Lighten up. Let yourself off the hook, and practice that by letting everybody else in the entire world off the hook. You Broncos fans, let the Seahawks off the hook. You Seahawk fans, let the Broncos off the hook. It's all a reflection of you.
It's all in our head, and guess what? We are in charge of what goes on in our head. We are in charge of our thoughts, of our responses to experiences. We are in charge of what we make something mean. It only means what you're making it mean. Doesn't really mean anything in and of itself. It's a neutral. It only means what you're making it mean, and that's what's going on inside of your head. Well, Barbara, you don't know how insulted I was. That's in your head. It doesn't matter what happened on the outside. You took that experience and you got insulted. You got your panties all in an upwad about it. You decided to have an emotional reaction about it. You talked yourself into, actually, if you want to know what really you're doing, you're running a drug lab in your body. You're like a meth kingpin. And every time you create a drama experience in your head, you trigger off this amazingly complex neurochemical response in which you actually secrete drugs into your body. You get high from it. That's why when people say you're a drama addict, it's true. You're literally addicted to the experience of the drama, not because of all of the turmoil, but because of the drugs that you're getting in your body. Your body stimulates a fight or flight response. The limbic brain goes crazy. Out comes adrenaline, which gets you all hyper and has you breathing heavy. Oh my gosh, do you know what they just said to me? Oh, I have every right to be upset. Oh my God, this is terrible. That's all a response of the drug lab that you have cooking in you. It's all going on in your head. I mean, let's be honest here. We're a bunch of druggies. At the moment that what we need is required, it will appear. And so I sat there Wednesday night in the middle of the night and just chanted, I remember who I am. I remember who I am. And I invite you to chant that with me just for a few minutes. I remember who I am. 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 I remember who I am.
I know, I do know, that God is in this place because we are here. I know that God is in this place because she is here. I know that the fullness of life, the love, the tears, the happiness, the everything of life is all divine. And we lean into that awareness ever so more in this very moment, in this very breath. That God is in this place, and so only good is here. We are it. We are the fullness. So we come today to celebrate our beloved Barbara. We come to celebrate and to love one another in the awareness that God is all that there is. It is the only thing going on. And so we celebrate. We lean into this experience with hearts open wide, allowing ourselves to share and to remember who we are. I know that God is in this place because we are here. It is within me. It is within you, each and every one of you. And so it is.
Keep talking, keep talking. Janelle, keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay, I'm gonna keep, okay. Okay. So please join us in singing this song. It's in every one of us that Barbara picked out. So let's sing it with her because we know she is here and she's gonna be singing it with us anyway, so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up all your eyes. We can
Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to see so many familiar faces come to honor our beloved Barbara. So we gather here today, we gather here to heal, to celebrate, to laugh, to grieve, and to love one another through this process as we do celebrate the most amazing, extraordinary, and excellent life ever. For those who don't know me, my name is Devon Embler. I am a CSL licensed practitioner emeritus. Barbara was my mentor, my friend, my teacher, and we had the privilege of being friends, of being lunch dates and confidants for nearly 30 years. We were best friends. She was my Barbara, and I was her Devon. So I stand here today at Barbara's request to guide you as we celebrate. I'm going to keep using that word because it's an extraordinary life that deserves as much celebration as we can put into it with our hearts. She was truly remarkable, awe-inspiring, and so darn cute. She is a being of love and a being of light. She is a knower of truth and a shower of love. The love today in this room is palpable. And I want to start by honoring her family, her beautiful family, her amazing husband, John. You are right here. And I want you to know and remember that you are stronger than you think. To her son, Matthew. Daughter-in-law, Bridget. To her grandsons, Aiden and Noah. And to her beloved, beautiful sister, Margaret. You are all right here within. Aiden and Noah. Your grandmother beamed with joy and had tears in her eyes every time we spoke of you, and it was often. She just had so much love and respect and appreciation for you both. And yes, you are doing amazing things in this world, and you have this amazing path before you. But her most pride came into the character of your being. Know that, take that with you. She loved you beyond measure. Yeah. Barbara, vibrant woman of power, Barbara Powerhouse, she was called many times. She was the most important woman in my life. She remains the most important woman in my life, and I am here today because she loved me and the ways that she demonstrated her love for me. Barbara was born a princess on August 25th, 1953. She would eventually find her prince, and she would eventually build her castle. She is also known as She Who Lives Out Loud. We came up with that many moons ago at a women's weekend. Yep. Her favorite month is August. Her favorite color, purple. Among her favorite foods, there were quite a few. Lobster, multiple lobsters at one sitting, I believe the record is 7. She loved linguine with clams and chocolate and Java chip ice cream with 2 spoons, sometimes 3. Indian food. As demonstrated in the video that we were watching, and I know many of you really tuned into that, she was so multifaceted. One moment, she would be speaking this true, amazing depth of truth and spiritual principle and how to apply it. And then, well, in my conversations with her, we would do that. And then we would talk about hair color and shoes. I love that about her. Her impact is immeasurable and somewhat difficult to put into words, but I'm going to give it a shot. In summary, she taught us that there is a presence and a power within each of us. Drink this in. Drink this in. There is a presence and power within each of us that can carry us over every obstacle, that has the answer to every question and the solution to every problem. That each of us is God-informed, that we are magnificent, that we are all-powerful, we're creative spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth. That we can have the life of our dreams, that we are the creators of our destiny, that as divine, we deserve the very best. She taught us how to use our thoughts, words, and actions to direct and create the life of our choosing, and how important it was to pay attention to those. How to manifest without limitation for all that you are called to bring forth. She taught us how to stop playing small and live our big story. She was the master at helping everyone see their own true value and that we all mattered. She reminded us, actually pretty frequently, she reminded us that we could actually suck it up, cupcake, and let it go. That we could put on our big girl panties, big boy panties, and do what we're meant to do to live the life that we have come here to live. She taught us how to find happiness and love and prosperity. She reminded us, no matter what, there is a gift and a blessing in everything. And so much more. So I stand here today and tell you that we are her legacy. We are her legacy. Each and every one of us, and the millions beyond these walls, are her legacy. Our work is to take what she taught us and demonstrated to us, to take it and to go forth, embodying and living these truths, to be more, to rise and to rise and to rise, to become the best versions of who we have come here to be. And the world is a better place because of Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse. Now the invitation. It's time now where each of us, those who choose, get to share. Share in some way how Barbara touched your heart, or perhaps how she changed her life. So I'm going to give you a little logistics so we can do this with ease and grace. The microphone is over here. You're going to step up to it and put your toes on the little piece of tape and speak into the microphone so everyone can hear you. You can line up along that wall, so come in this way, and then you can exit this way. Again, be mindful of your time, as we have many people in this room that we anticipate will share. We will start this invitation with her family. and we will finish this with John.
She was great in front of a crowd. Much, much better than I am. And notice how she could still command the room. It's a hard day today. Knew this day was coming sometime, but we didn't know when. And I've had some time to think about what to say today, and I honestly still don't really know. But I'll do the best I can. The thing I want to share is, as you know, Barbara was a lot of things to a lot of people. She was reverend, teacher, mentor, friend, wife, Nana. And to me, she was always just mom. So, and she was amazing. And you all know that. You're here. So it's not news. But I'm glad that you know that. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one. There's literally nothing that she couldn't do if she didn't put her mind to it. There was nothing that she would let stand in her way, and that's just the way that she lived. And I think I got to see that firsthand from the day I was born. She had me on the living room floor because that's how she was going to have it. That's the way it was going to be, and she did. She told me for a long time when I was a kid that I was in charge of my happiness. I could decide how I chose to see things. If I felt sad or angry, it was okay, but that was my choice. And just as easily as I could choose to be upset about something, I could choose to be happy about it. And that was for me to decide. And so, in retrospect, that was a very important, powerful message to learn as a kid, one that I certainly didn't probably give it, as much understanding as you do later in life. But those are lessons, and those are lessons that she took to a completely another level in creating this space and creating this community and touching all of you here and everyone else that she did, and carrying that on the way it will forever. But with that said, I'm choosing to be a little bit sad today. It's my choice, and it's just is the way it is. But even through that sadness, the thing that always comes out for me when I think of her is no matter what the memories are, no matter what the feelings are, no matter what that is, I remember that she would say that today is the best day ever. That's right. So, even though I'm sad, I remember how amazing she was. I'm eternally grateful to be able to have had her as my mom. I'm very thankful for the impact that she's had on everybody, and I'm thankful how all of you will continue to carry her with you in your heart, and that means a lot to me. So I'm very thankful to all of you for that. I'm grateful for her unconditional love, for teaching me how to be a better person in general, and for helping make the world a better place, because I do feel the same, that the world is a better place because of her. And the world is a better place because she knew all of us and we knew her. So that's it. I'm happy for the opportunity to have had such an extraordinary person as my mother. You know, all mothers are special. And I don't discount that at all, but I'm eternally grateful to be able to have had her as mine. But I'm also sad. But even through that, we should all remember that today is the best day ever. And tomorrow's going to be even better. So thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. And I'd like to say a special hello to all my family and friends that were unable to come today but are watching on the YouTube channel. You all know Barbara as an adult, and I'd like to share with you a little bit of my privilege to have had her as a sister. I'm the older sister, but a lot of the times she was much wiser than I could imagine. I'm 4 years older than her, and we had an older brother and then a brother between myself and her. So there was 4 of us in the family. And I wouldn't say it was a very happy family or a loving family, but we all, made the best that we could of it. And we grew up in the 50s in Miami. And back then, it was a very clear expectations between growing up as a female or a male. And Barbara wasn't having any of that. She would always say, why can't I dress in boys' clothes and go out and play with the boys? I don't want to play with dolls. I don't want to learn how to cook. And she wanted her freedom, and she always asked why. She got in trouble a lot for asking why. In school, even in Sunday school, she got in trouble for asking why. But she was very powerful, even as a really young girl. I can remember her running around the house screaming, "There's something wrong here. You must have taken the wrong baby home from the hospital. I'm supposed to be a princess." And she was like 4 years old. But we were close. We were friends, not only sisters. And we spent a lot of time together. As teenagers, we both left home in our teens. We lived together. We mentored each other. And as she came to find Science of Mind, she shared that with me. She mailed me a book. So I opened the book, and I'm not a big reader, so I said, "Oh, Barbara sent me a book," put it on the shelf. And it wasn't until a couple of years later when I was drawn to it, so then I started studying it. But she would call me, and she would tell me what she found out, new things about metaphysics, about healing, about crystals, past life regression, angels, spirit guides. She was interested in whatever she could find to expand her awareness of becoming more. That was one of her mottos, become more, be more. And she did live up to that. And I had the privilege of being her sister, best friend, confidant. We had a blast. And I know that her body's not here now, but she still is. She always will be. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bridget. I'm Barbara's daughter-in-law. She was not just my mother-in-law. I lost my mother when I was 18, and she took me as her own child. And so she was there for me like a mother from the age of 16 onward. I'm very fortunate to have had Barbara in my life, not just as a family member, but as a teacher. She taught me a lot. She taught me that I was valuable, I was worthy, I could do anything I wanted to do, and she supported me with that. And sorry, I'm not great at public speaking. She taught me that I could do anything I wanted to do, and anything I created in my life was partly due to her support and her encouragement. She brought this beautiful family into my world. My husband, Matthew, my 2 boys, Aiden and Noah. And she was a wonderful Nana to them. She's going to be with you forever and is still with us today. So, aside from being a family member and a teacher, she was just a great person and taught me in general to be a better person, to think outside the box, the power of positive thinking, love, and that today is the best day ever.
An opportunity, ooh, there I am. Now is your opportunity to share. So again, just come up from that side of the room. You can form a line if you choose and share into the mic. And we'd love to hear how Barbara changed your life.
John and your beloved Barbara, you two are in the top 5 people in my life. I think you know who 2 of the others are. I remember who I am, and it has a lot to do with you guys making that possible, almost everything. And that's huge for me. That's all I need. There's nothing more, really. And now I'd like to step aside from being me and read a message from Barbara Jeffries, who was very disappointed she couldn't make it. She is the founding minister at the Open Door Center in Sylva, North Carolina, and she's asked me to share a message for her. Dear John and family and CSL Asheville, today, as you gather, I know many will share of their remarkable experiences with our beloved Barbara. I wanted to take a moment and bring to awareness the intergenerationality of the love and magic that Barbara imbued in all that she did. After taking classes with John and Barbara many years ago, I went on to the Holmes Institute and completed ministerial school. During the time I was in school, with encouragement and support from many at CSL Asheville, I opened a study group in my home in Sylva. Although small, this community went on to become a CSL center. During the 14 years of its existence, Open Door CSL provided book studies, certified classes, and Sunday services with literally hundreds of people benefiting from our Science of Mind teaching. I credit Barbara and John with this, for it was surely the wondrous ways they brought to life the works of Ernest Holmes that called me to move into the arena of ministry. We never know when we follow the beckoning of Spirit's clarity where that will take us or who we will impact. Through her love and deep abiding faithfulness to our Science of Mind way of life, Barbara not only enhanced the thousands who came into contact with her through CSL Asheville, her impact extended much farther, affecting many that never had the opportunity to behold her amazing teachings. The inherent message in Barbara's life was one of stepping forward in our lives to heed the inner voice that loves, guides, and directs each one of us to do what we came here to do. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to learn from Barbara and everyone at CSL Asheville. I know you are all surrounded by divine love now and forevermore. Be well, Reverend Dr. Barbara Jeffries.
I'm June Oman, licensed practitioner, and and devoted student forever of Barbara Waterhouse and John. And so much of what I have today and who I am today is because of these two individuals. Barbara told me and showed me that anything and everything is possible. And the most amazing thing is, in the classes with her and also with John, he really set forth the sail of what is your purpose and live it, and how to actually manifest that. And I just took that all to heart and created an amazing life. And Barbara was so generous, because when I got my license, my mental health clinical license transferred here from Arizona, I didn't have an office, and she was so generous, and she said, just use one of the practitioner rooms upstairs. And so I did, and I started seeing clients in the practitioner room in the second floor of this building, and from there it is just taken off, and now I have an amazing business of being a life coach as well as a mental health therapist, and helping hundreds and hundreds of people, and soon to be increasing that worldwide, and it's all because of these two individuals. I am eternally indebted and grateful to them, and I can't imagine my life without them. So everything and anything is absolutely possible. Thank you, Barbara Waterhouse and John Waterhouse.
Hello. My name is Aaron. I am one of Barbara's little friends that I would say hi to after church. One thing that I will remember about her was I remember when I was younger, my mom would take me to church, and I would just kind of be like really bored. I'm like, I don't like this. But when Barbara would go up on stage, she would be so happy and joyful, and she would inspire me to do great things in life, and I will miss her. And even though she might not be here on earth, she is still here, just not in her body. Thank you.
I felt like I said everything I needed to say in September, but he needed my moral support, so I'm going to add that I am here because I was told in my early 30s that I couldn't have children, and look what we did. It took a heck of a long time, but it happened. So I owe to Barbara and to John and to this church and this teaching that I do have the family I always wanted now. And one of the first things she said to me in line after the very first service I came to was, "Where are your children?" And she had no idea why I was here, and I thought that was a little bit mean. But I told her that I was here in search of peace about my children, if they should show up. And she had seen me with children. She had seen physical form of children in the room with me, or something like that. She's told that story to me many times now. And so she was one of the first people I called when I confirmed my one and only positive pregnancy test. And she apparently hung up and I think turned to Nancy Walton and said, "Watch it be twins." So she will always be in my heart. I will miss her in her body. But she's done an amazing thing here. I'd not thought about this as her castle. I've heard the princess story, but it is. This is her castle, and she will always live here. And we will continue on in her memory and in her legacy. So I thank you all.
I came up early because then I figured I wouldn't be as much of a mess, but I'm still a mess. Barbara is she changed my life. I came here and she told me welcome home. And it's been my home now for 16 years, off and on a little bit, but she loved me and I loved her. She's one of the first human beings I'd hold when I was pregnant both times, and she's one of the first people not in my family to hold my babies when they were born. No matter which hospital I went to, she came, and she loved them. And I am the person I am because I know her, and because she loved me, and I'm eternally grateful. And she also gave me all of you, and some of you are the most important people in my life as well. So, thank you for letting me speak, and that's all I can do, or else I'm gonna be a mess. And
thought it was a table. My name is Ocean Shackleton, Reverend Ocean Shackleton. I got licensed through Science of Mind Church and the Wisdom Center in Black Mountain. John and Barbara were present. They mentored me through my training as a practitioner, and I was a practitioner here. I helped to build this church, and it has my heart. I wrote something a while back when John and Barbara retired. I'd like to read that. It's a salute for Barbara and John Waterhouse with eternal love and gratitude. In a cornfield they gathered, spiritual seekers, seeking truth, many who'd been seeking from early youth. John and Barbara brought a pile of chairs, soon filled with seekers, sitting there. Her voice projecting, filled with love, seemed to come from up above. I know! Then by a little stream, with many they brought forth a dream. Through fire they walked to become complete. On hot coals they placed their naked feet. Out of the ashes a citadel arose. At the altar, Barbara would strike her pose, arms open wide, bringing spirit in. First a whisper, then a din. At times there'd be sage and drumming. Then from everywhere, seekers coming. I know! I've written this today, sitting here. The flame. She was the flame that ignited our collective passion, our own place life celebration to fashion. She brought us her ideas of spirit. We'd go to any length to hear it. I know that God is in this place, reflected here in every face. In a cornfield, on a countryside, she launched the words that formed the tide that rolled into this little glen. Some of us recall the giant oak, the fire walks, the heat and smoke, the dream in which fruit we celebrate, thanks to Barbara and her mate, John Waterhouse. I, for one, shall never forget or cease to love them both. And this I wrote as a picture of the rose heart. What would I be? The heart. 18 pink and 18 white, fill the body quite a sight. Forever banner, everlasting, small recognition of her passing. Her voice a symphony to my ear, recorded that I may always hear those truths that Barbara taught. She created all she sought. 57 crimson globes, red roses, lend their fragrance to the room. Their beauty and their essence reminds us all of Barbara's presence. Banks of flowers everywhere lend their sweet presence, scent the air. One can't look in any direction without seeing her perfection. The question uppermost for me is, without her influence, who would I be?
Words seem to be inadequate for me to express the love and appreciation, the gratitude that I have for Barbara and for John. When I first came to CSL Asheville, I was in a very sad place, and Barbara taught me, and John taught me how to create the life of my dreams. And they taught me so much that I never would have known if it hadn't been for them. So my life is so wonderful now because of them, and I'm so deeply grateful. I love this place, and my intention is to do everything as long as I can to support this center. And as I was sitting here, I remembered when Bridget and Matthew were in Florida, and the boys were with you, and Barbara said, I want them to move to Asheville because I want to have a relationship with my grandchildren. And it wasn't much longer after that they moved to Asheville, and she was so pleased and so happy that you were here close by. And with Margaret too. I think she made Margaret move here. Yes. And so her example will always be with me. Her influence, her essence will always be with me. And I had the honor and the privilege to sit with her for every Tuesday for over a year. And that was such a blessed time for me. It enabled me to know that she was okay. Whatever happened was okay because I knew that she was going to be in her bliss, and I'm both sad and happy. I'm happy that she's not suffering anymore, and she's in her bliss, and I know she's here. So it's just with great gratitude that I can say that I have been so blessed to have her in my life, and John also, and I'm forever grateful. And so it is.
Hi, everyone. My name is Deidre Martin, and I've been a member of CSL Asheville for about 3 years. I was invited here by my landlady at the time. She was a member. And since I've been here, I'm meeting all these people that say, we go back to the cornfields. But I just found out about Science of Mind when I entered these doors, and my life changed immediately. And coming in and seeing this powerful woman, Barbara Waterhouse, speaking with such passion and devotion and authenticity, and it was more how she said things sometimes than what she said, and it would just sink in through osmosis. But I remember 2019, we had our gratitude session, and I just said it felt so organic. I used to church hop when I lived in Atlanta, church to church to church, never satisfied. Came here, haven't been anywhere else. I'm so grateful. And John, I'll tell you, the love that those two had, or have still, I said, that's the kind of love I want in my life. And I love you, John. We're all gonna be all right. It is what it is, and so it is.
I'm Mary Love, and I have some messages from some different people. Barbara was loved so much by so many different people, and I invite you to join the CSL Facebook member page so you can see all of the pouring out and the love that they talked about with her. Ann Paul said, Jenny Summers' partner, said one word wraps up Barbara is compassion. She wanted the world to know that. And when I served on the Leadership Council, there was a lady that was blind, and she was complaining that there was not enough Science of Mind material on tape, books on tape. And I said, oh, well, there is. And she has listened to Barbara for 6 years ongoing over and over and said, thank you so much. And there were about 4 ministers that said the reason Barbara was called Powerhouse is because she chastised them and told them they better take care of their practitioners. So it was wonderful to hear from those people. For me personally, it amazed me how Barbara was able to feel. Barbara, it could be everybody's best friend. She had that ability to just create that closeness to you. And she, other than Deb, she was the most important person in my life for many, many years. And I remember one time, John, we were talking about your relationship and Deb and our relationship, and Barbara says, well, so many people think that John and I are enmeshed, and I don't care. She loved you greatly. And I am so grateful for her, and I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you.
So my contemplation this week was, okay, I feel like I've been special along with so many of us to have somehow watched this process of Barbara going into her cocoon. She loved the butterfly metaphor over and over. And so many Sundays when she would be up here in her cocoon and a part of herself that she was just as powerful as being up on the stage. It was, I felt so more blessed than ever to have witnessed the commitment and the power and the presence and the love in this place that she was in. I mean, it was like the best testimony that I think I've ever seen of a leader, to have that courage and that dedication to come in here on Sunday while we're watching the best of Barbara, but in my heart, it was like, this is the best of Barbara right here. There's no other testimony for her willingness and her spirit and who she was. So she's a butterfly now. And I just feel blessed that I got to see the cocoon and experience it. Because when I'm at that place, I'm going to claim the cocoon as well. So that's her last offering to me. And I'm not that, could happen anytime. So
Hey, John. I was sitting back there trying to think about what Barbara meant to me and how she related to my life. And I kind of went back to my college days, and like many people at late adolescence or early adulthood, I used to confuse cynicism for wisdom. And when people asked me how I was, I decided they didn't really want to hear how I was, that they wanted to hear everything was okay. So I developed this little mantra, a little saying. I said, peachy keen, right on, slick, dandy, fine, okay. Anytime anybody said anything to me, I say, peachy keen, slick, dandy, fine, okay, right on. Then I graduated and got out in the real world, and I suddenly discovered that I was responsible for my own mood. And that rather cynical saying became something that guided my life. I want you to know, I don't think I have ever met anyone who demonstrated that more than Barbara Waterhouse. Every time I encountered her, every time we interacted, she expressed that joy, that peachy keenness, that right-onness. She was okay. Thank you, John.
My name is Betty Devine. I'm a licensed practitioner here. And I have to admit, I feel very privileged to be in one of the last class that Barbara and John taught for practitioners. It's no doubt that Barbara's touched every single one of our lives in one way or another. But I can remember in prac class, her ability to get in your face when you weren't being honest with yourself and force you to look at what your life really was all about. Sometimes those are the hardest lessons for us to learn, is what we're preventing ourselves from coming. And one of the best lessons that I've learned from John and Barbara is that I'm worth it. Because all of our lives in television and radio and broadcasting, they always make us feel less than we really are. We're always looked down on and trying to be someone better. But Barbara instilled that in me, that I am worth it, that I am real, and I can take control of my life, which was something that was sort of beat into me as a child. But my favorite memory of Barbara was that in this very center, even after she had her stroke, Barbara and John participated in Troy and my marriage ceremony. Over here in the labyrinth that was built, we exchanged our vows. And even though I knew it was difficult for Barbara to speak at that time, she was there for us. And that meant so much to me and Troy. So we thank you very much. John, we know that you're in our hearts. The whole family is in our hearts. That we will never forget Barbara. She's a part of us. Thank you.
I'm going to be a wave. First class I ever sat in with Barbara Waterhouse. I want to be a wave. Now you get to do that. I wear this bracelet all the time, and I've shown it to her back towards the end when I'd still do her nails before Sunday service. Remember, you're going to be a wave. She gets to do that. And I told her I would never say goodbye to her, and I'm not going to do it now because she is still here. Thank you.
always, always with me, regardless of where my life is at. My name is Reverend Christy Corna. I wouldn't be a reverend at the capacity I'm a reverend without Barbara and John. I say forever to this day, I would not be who I am today without both of them. And so, you know, they gave me the honor of serving this community for so many years. God, I hate crying in public. I like to cry, but not in public. And so John, forever in my heart, Barbara, forever in my heart, to have gotten to know the family, and you little ones, I remember, wow. You know, I celebrate John and Barbara, I celebrate this community, I celebrate who I am as a result of their teaching, their support, the generosity, the honor of being of service, because it is an honor. The honor of tending fire, such an honor. And without taking up too much time, I think probably the greatest gift that Barbara Waterhouse has given me is not only the worth and the value in taking ownership of who I am and being who I came here to be. The greatest gift, and I've thought this for many years, is that she taught me how to stand in my power as a woman. And as a woman, to stand in my power with grace, with a voice, with clarity, with authenticity, with conviction. Because the only model I had was just a little abrasive. And yet here's this woman showing me how to stand in my power as a woman with grace. And that is a gift that I will carry into eternity. And that is a gift from Barbara Waterhouse. And Barbara and John in this community, and being here, this is my second time in like 9 years, just within a couple of weeks. And there's been such a healing and a transformation going on inside of me that's really brought me back home to who I am. And I am forever grateful for the two of you as teachers, and for this community, and for those of you that are a part of this community, hold on to it. Live your life to the fullest. Live out the legacy, because as Devon said, we are the legacy. We are the ones living everything she taught. So her love goes out into the world through each of us. So I'm grateful for that opportunity, because through her, through John, through this community, I learned how to love. So thank you.
I'm Deb Love, and I've been a member here for about 18 years. And I was thinking I was here when Aiden was christened, and it's been an amazing journey to be a part of this community for so long. And it's good to see so many of you here that I haven't seen in a long time. And I think the biggest thing about Barbara is she was a real softie inside, even though she would say, don't come and bring me your issues. I don't have tissues for your issues or whatever. When I got to know Barbara more closely, I realized that she said that more for herself, because she was really a pushover and a kind person inside. And she had such compassion and love for everyone she met. And I wouldn't be who I am today without that. John and Barbara both mean a lot to me and Mary, and I remember her talking about your relationship being codependent and how people would tell her that, and she would say, I don't care. And I don't either. You know, it's like, I don't care what people think. I've got love in my life that matters. And I watched the relationship that you two had, and inspired me. The thing that I think that struck me the most is saying goodbye. She was being a minister to me until the very end. And she told me before I left, the last time I saw her, she said, "It's not going to be long, Deb." That was about 9 months ago, but she said, "It's not going to be long." And so I got the opportunity to sit with her and just hold her hands and look into her eyes and say everything I needed to say. And she was supporting me and loving me as a minister. And then Bliss got in on it at the very end, because I had to just sit down outside on the bench. And I have the no whining sign in my office. And I'm so grateful, because I'm keeping it for myself, so I remember not to whine. But I have so many happy memories of Barbara and some funny things. I used to call her out of the blue for treatments, and she treated for me before I've had surgery and before procedures and lots of things. But one time I called her and I said, "Barbara, it's an emergency. I need your help." And she said, "What is it?" She was always ready to help and give a treatment. And I said, "My dog Stella has gotten out of her invisible fence, and she's gone next door." And we lived in Leicester, and we had these new neighbors that we didn't know. All we know is they had chickens and a duck. And I heard a scream, and I saw a lady with a baseball bat coming out through the woods toward me, and she said that your dog has been out, and your dog has killed all my birds. And I'm thinking, oh, uh-oh. So I called Barbara, and I said, "Stella's out. We need to get, please treat, that the best outcome happens with all of this." And it wasn't long before those chickens got up from the dead. Apparently chickens faint when they're scared. And they laid out on the ground, and the duck was okay later too. We thought we were going bankrupt taking a duck to reach. But anyway, because I called our vet, and the vet said it could cost a lot of money, and so we went out and said, "There's nothing we can do." But that later on, Daisy, the duck Daisy, the pet, was quacking. They texted it to us, and then the birds stood up and walked around, and she texted us and said, "The birds aren't dead at all." So I got to call Barbara and say, "You raised the chickens from the dead today." And it was funny. But I loved her sense of humor. I loved her laughter, and I loved how she could get to the heart of a person with humor, and you didn't feel terrible, but she could tell you the truth, and you could hear it, and you could take it in. I will forever be grateful for her, and I'm just grateful for John and the whole family. Thank you so much for being a part of my life the last 18 years. I love you.
I have nothing prepared, which is good. I'm Reverend Marcia McLean, and I'm one of the Cornfield kids. First met John and Barbara in 1997 and discovered that we had all beaten up a path from South Florida around the same time. And I gave up my bed and breakfast so I could go to the Center for Creative Living every Sunday because it was a better deal. I don't want to cook breakfast, I want to go to the center. And like so many people have said, thanks to Barbara and to John, I discovered who I am. And not just that, how to be her. And how to be her no matter what. No matter who's looking, no matter what they have to say. And that is a beautiful, free way to live that I would not have known. And I was ordained here in 2002, went off to all kinds of places and cycled back home about a year ago after 15 years carrying this thing on elsewhere. And it's just so good to be here. I just love the generosity of spirit. I love what I've learned from both of these beautiful people. And the first time I went out the door, Barbara and John gave me a mailing list and said, "Here's everybody on our list in Black Mountain. Go get them, and whatever you need." I learned about that spirit of generosity and about the law of circulation in action from both of you. And I'm quite certain that as everyone else is doing, that I get a piece of Barbara's legacy as long as I keep showing up. The last thing that she said to me was, "Are you happy?" And I said, yes, I am. So I'm so privileged to be part of what she started here and to be continuing it. And I love you all.
Hello, it's great to be here. This place has meant so much to me. John and Barbara were so instrumental in our lives and this place. And Dr. Bridget Fogelman was my daughter's pediatrician. And so I just want to share a couple big things, and I'll share a personal story with Barbara. But without this place, and without John and Barbara, I wouldn't have broken boards with Brian here in this church. And it just brought out this side of me I didn't even know was there. And without John and Barbara, I wouldn't have seen Dale give his Aramaic text lecture to us all, you know. I wouldn't have had Charlie's speaking courses. I wouldn't have had John's men's retreat with some of you in here. We had a softball team. I played softball for years. It was so great. And, you know, we had a school here that was awesome. You know, this place was rocking, man. And then when they did the course on prosperity, you know, it would be fuller than this. These guys just created so much more than just a church. And it was their teamwork that did it. So I thank you. I mean, Sidney Barnes, you know, I mean, Charlie, there were so many people that were instrumental. One of my best friends, Joe Gimiangi, I can't tell you how much this place has meant to me. So it's great to be back here, and I thank Barbara. And the personal story I have is Barbara and I were up in the upper parking lot planting trees one day, and it was just great to just be there with her, just doing the simple task of planting some trees in the upper parking lot. And we parked up there today, and I just felt her so deep within me. So thank you all for being part of my life. This was a special place, it always will be. And Barbara touched all of us so deeply in so many ways. She was there on the ball field when she wasn't even there. She was there at my daughter's appointments with Dr. Fogelman. You know, so thank you so much.
Hello, my name's Judith Loniak. I'm a chaplain here and a licensed practitioner, also on the Board of Trustees. If I heard myself saying these things 9 years ago, I would never have believed it. And it was Barbara and John that taught me to live in the light. Absolutely taught me to live in the light and to stop whining. Occasionally I still whine, and that's just kind of a homage to Barbara, just say, oh, I got it. One thing Barbara taught me was to manifest. She was the most amazing manifester and demonstrator I've ever met and will probably ever meet. She was my greatest teacher. She touched my heart in ways that no one has ever done. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to buy a house, and I was talking to my friends Mary and Deb Love about that. And Mary was my realtor, and she's been a close friend of mine for 30 years. And Mary said, don't forget, write down what you want in the house. So I made this huge long list, and Mary was saying, I don't know if you're going to get a fireplace. I don't know if you're going to get a basement. But she believed with me. And the one thing about my house, which I call Spirit Manor, is that it's the house that Barbara built. It's the house that Barbara built. It is the most incredible place. It has everything I ever wanted in a house that I've never had before. I got my basement, I got my fireplace, I got my land, and I have a dog that loves to run around that land. And the people in my life are now that are so important to me and love me, and I love them so much, are all because of Barbara, what she taught me about relationships, what she taught me about the relationship with myself. She was the most, for so many words that I'm saying, there's just no more words, because she was the epitome of generosity and spirit. And for that, I'm grateful. She taught me about gratitude. She taught me about love. And she would, she taught me to kick myself when I knew I was being a little bit obstinate. But for all purposes, John and Barbara, I love you, I bless you, and I know you're perfect. And I thank you for everything, for who I am and everything I have, and I love you.
Hello, everybody. My name is John L. Varnum. I, too, am also a licensed practitioner here. And I was also one of those that was in her last class. I am Barbara Waterhouse, slow burner. I wear it proudly. What do you say about an introvert who lives out loud? And she did. She lived out loud. I remember when we had our last gratitude circle with John and Barbara, and I was saying something and I was referring something to Barbara. And she was having a hard time speaking. Well, that was one day she did not skip a beat. She was on it. She just rolled it right out of her tongue. And I was like, really, Barbara? Did you really have to say that? She said, you wasn't clear, and you needed to know this and that. And I was like, okay. But that was her. And the one thing I can honestly say about Barbara is that she was clear in who she was. Very clear. Very, very clear. And very humble. Because as a teacher, she was also still a student. She was still willing to learn who Barbara Waterhouse is and was until this day, And she was very humble about that. And that's what made her huge, She was huge. To me, that was huge, It was big. Because she was never too big for her britches, And that is what I love about her. She's a firecracker, that's for sure, And John's the technical one. He likes to break things down and make you think about things when that's not what you want to do, but that's just who he is, and we love him for that. But this is what I remember about Barbara, because I, too, don't like to cry, period. And she could make me cry because I would resist and she would persist, and she always had her way. So this is what I remember about Barbara Waterhouse, and this is her house, and she will always be here to take care of her house. Thank you.
Hello. So most of y'all know me as Kristen Moore, but my name is actually Reverend Chris Alexander now. And yes, and that is a large part due to Barbara and John a little bit later, because I came in 2012, right when he became the president of CSL, so I didn't get to know him for a few years. But when I was deciding to move here from Houston, Texas, I had a mentor, and I would always say, teach me to pray like you do, because I thought he prayed in the most beautiful way I'd ever heard. And turns out what he was doing was spiritual mind treatment. And when I decided to move here, he said, if you go to the Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville, North Carolina, Barbara Waterhouse will teach you to pray like I do. And so that sold me, and so I was here, I think, less than 48 hours after I rolled in, and I didn't leave again until I was a practitioner on my way to ministerial school, and left here on a wing and a prayer and very little money to go to California to pursue that dream. And I just, every time I would come home, it was this big homecoming every time, and Barbara would ask me, what was the latest thing that I had accomplished or I had done, or she asked me a lot, are you happy? And anytime I told her, well, I've done this, or I graduated here, I've taken that class, she would go, of course, of course. And in prac class, in prac 1, Jonelle will remember this because she was also in my prac class. I was not in the last one, but she was in mine as well, with her slow burner self. And one of our fellow classmates said something that really upset me, and I slammed my hand down on the table, and I turned to her, and I told her off for about 5 minutes, and Barbara just listened, and then afterwards she said, well, yes, everything you said was true, but people can't hear you when you're yelling at them. And so anytime I want to yell at anyone, I don't really do that anymore, but anytime that I feel like somebody needs to know something very firmly, I always think about Barbara saying, people can't hear you when you're yelling at them. And so then it becomes what actually needs to be said here and how. And so she and John, of course, you are in my heart, and there was nowhere else that I would be today. And I love you both so much, and I'm so grateful to Barbara for the foundation that she gave me. And that's what I tell everyone everywhere I go. You know, I've grown and expanded and branched off and all of that, but I know that I have a firm foundation in Science of Mind because I learned from John and Barbara Waterhouse.
Like so many of you, it's hard to cry in public, so excuse me. And I have a different perspective on Barbara Powerhouse Waterhouse. I'm a hospice nurse, and I only met her at the end of her life. After her stroke, after her disease was taking her body, and her stroke had taken her mind. And yet, she was the most poignant representation of how we are not our bodies. We are not our minds. We are so much more than that. And she was so much more than that. There are so few people that we have the honor, the blessing to meet in our lives who change us simply by their existence and their presence. And in the brief time that I was honored to be in her presence, she changed me forever. So many words that she has said, and yet so many words that she didn't have to say during the time that I knew her, and yet 2 words will stay with me forever because not of what she said, but how she said those 2 words: stop and yes. And I think so many of you understand that, and it took me so much introspective to understand what she was saying to me with just the word stop. You know, and yes. And so I will go forward with stop and yes. And the gratitude for having known Barbara and for having known John. Thank you.
Hey all, I'm John Gustafson, and it's an honor to be here today. It's not a pleasure, but it's an honor. And I was reminded by the last speaker that the few words I had with Barbara not long ago, her response was yes to all of our conversation. And what else could it be from Barbara? Yes. So a story, there are so many, as I'm sure most of us could stand up here and recite experiences shared with Barbara that seem so intimate and significant, and yet there are so many of them. The one that comes to mind, one of the many, is that some years ago, John and Barbara and I studied with Will Rockingbear, a native teacher up in CeeLo, and a lot of us in that period were doing Vision Quest. It was a big part of this path. And that's where you would go into the woods for 4 days and 4 nights, and don't bring any water, don't bring any food, and hope for the best. And so Barbara and I did it together early on this path, and we actually quested right near each other. So that morning, the beginning of the quest, we walked out, and one of the teachings was, you show how much fear you have of this experience by how much you bring with you. Well, both of us could have used Sherpas, but we did our best to bring our goods out with us. And so we settled in, we walked quite a ways, and then we parted when we knew we were near our spots. And it was sort of understood that you would not interact with whoever was near you, and hopefully you were far, far away and wouldn't know really what was going on with the other quester. And so in each evening, as they quieted down, I felt inspired. I was a good whistler in those days, and I would whistle Amazing Grace to myself and thought to Mother Nature, and didn't know until it was all done and we reconvened at the fire at the end of our quest that she apparently was right around the corner from me and a couple of rocks away, and we just didn't know how close we actually were. But she said to me that my whistling Amazing Grace at the end of the day carried her through, and that meant the world to me. It really did. We would pack up every Tuesday night, John and Barbara and I, and have a bite to eat on the way up and then sit in this wonderful ceremony. And we did this for quite a number of, about 3 years, maybe more. And it was a great, great experience to share with Barbara and to get to know her at that level and do what we did together. So I also had the great pleasure of being involved in the construction of this facility and the one in the cornfield. In fact, I would have been at the first service, but the three of us love Florida a lot, and I happened to be in Florida at the very first ceremony in the cornfield. But from that point on, I was very active. And I guess if I may ask a personal favor, anybody that was here building in those days that was a part of this team, would you mind standing just for a moment so we could acknowledge you? There we go. The reason I ask is because it was so significant that this facility was built largely by its members, not through subcontractors and people we paid. We would have volunteers here on Saturdays, sometimes 25, 30 people, and we would just go to town to get this place built. And I said it at the end of that this job, this project was sort of the crown jewel of my career, and I still feel that way. When I come here and I look, and one of my great memories is when we were digging by hand the footers underneath the stage of a Saturday morning, and there was Barbara and I laying steel and tying it together and just having a good time. So there are so many wonderful memories and so many dear friendships that I gained from being here. I love this man in front of me, John Waterhouse. We spend as much time as we can, and I plan to continue to do that for many years to come. I love Barbara. I miss her. This is a celebration of life, but I'm really pretty sad, to be honest, as we all are. She was one of the most dynamic people I've ever known, ever. I can't imagine anybody coming along that would outstage her magnificence. So, grateful to be here. Thanks all.
Name's Mark. I'm one of the cornfield crew, I guess you could say. My wife and I first came to be in John and Barbara's presence out in Fairview. Appropriate, it was on Father's Day. It's when I first met John. It started our relationship. And quickly, after that, we were together a lot in many different ways. Building this center, men's circles, but they became entwined part of our lives, Barbara and John. And our son was christened. Our son Torsten was christened on the stage with the eagle feather ceremony. So many amazing things. Like John said, there's so many stories. But the one thing I kept coming up for me is the example of Barbara as a woman of power. Like there's so many women that you meet out there, but There's only a few that I've ever encountered in my entire life that just held such a place of power and confidence and love, and the spirituality just kind of surrounded her like a sphere wherever she went. And I remember when I was quite young, I used to ask for advice when we were putting up metal studs in this building and all different kinds of things. And she reminded me to always say that no matter what it is, it's still spirit. If you're in a corporate boardroom and you're feeling your power slipping away, there's always your spirit guides to guide you. You always have them, and you always have your true power and your true self. And I always have carried that with me forever going forward. This center also inspired me to become a minister myself in the Alliance of Divine Love out of the Namaste Center in Hendersonville. And all I can say is that this day is sad but beautiful because of all the amazing memories that Barbara I have. Like these last 2 weeks, it's just memory after memory and the amazing things that she represented and did for us in our life. So thank you.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Young, and one of the things about not just Barbara, but Barbara and John is that they're teachers, but more than that is demonstrated. That Barbara lived what she was teaching for decades, and there's this number of people have mentioned the love that she showed. I was in the hospital and I had a stroke, and then Barbara and John came in, and then I couldn't talk or anything, but Barbara just looked me in the eye and just looked, and I was aware of life and love. And anyway, there's this energy that was just passing between us, and just representative of how she is in life, that she shared that love with everybody, and then also just in whether it be if it's teaching, she's teaching that radiant energy of God expressing. So I really love John and Barbara, and they're always be in my heart. Thank you.
So many things have been said today. I really don't have anything to add. We all have countless experience of Barbara in our lives. Barbara always showed up. No matter if I slid into her office without an appointment and said, Barbara, what you need, she'd stop, whatever she was doing. And I had her full attention, and she'd do a treatment with me. I've never encountered a more powerful expression of the divine, and she called you to be that with her. There's only one. John, love you. And we remember her. At the rising of the sun, and it's going down, we remember her. At the blowing of the wind, in the chill of winter, we remember her. At the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember her. At the shining of the sun and its warmth of summer, we remember her. At the rustling of leaves
and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. At the beginning of the year and its end, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember her. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember her. When we have achievements that are based on hers, we remember her. As long as we live, she too shall live, for she is and will always be a part of us. We remember her.
Hi, I'm Terry Duncan, and Barbara, I moved here from Charlotte with my wife, and I was a nurse at the time, and I told Barbara I wanted to go back for nurse practitioner, and she's like, do it, you can. So I was up in her office, we were having a cleaning day here one day, and I said, I start school in the fall, and she goes, really, you got in? She goes, I said, well, I haven't heard yet, but I know it will, because she taught me that. And then when I graduated, all my family is in Arkansas or in Charlotte, but Barbara and Christy and a few other people came to the graduation, and they call my name, and I'm walking up there, and Barbara just screams, she was so excited. And the chancellor looked at me and goes, you gotta pray a good group here. A cheering crowd, I think is what he said. And I said, yeah, I am. It's my bless. It's my minister. And he goes, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then Laura McIlvain came up because we graduated at the same time, and Barbara and Christy screamed for her too. And she's like, you're part of the same group, Barbara never told me I couldn't do anything. She always told me I could do anything I wanted. I love you, John. My wife and I were married officially by you two, and we just celebrated 20 years together. I will never, ever forget you guys. Thank you.
My name's Chris Dale. I'm not from around these parts. My son Aiden, he's the other Aiden. We both drove up here from Durham today. And John reminded me that it was 38 years ago that we met. It was really a wonderful day. It was in Miami, and I had wanted to take my son to a sunrise service, and we just randomly found the Center for Creative Living. And so we went over there, my son and I, and we were sitting, and as the sun was rising, it was outdoors. A woman got up on the stage, and she lit up the entire outdoors. And my life changed that day, absolutely changed. And after the service, I met John, and we became really best friends. And over the years, anytime I've ever needed anything, I knew I could call on John and also Barbara. And there were so many times when the drama was happening in my life that I would call either John or Barbara, and Barbara would always say, Chris's room is ready. Just come on over, it's ready. And I would come, and they would both uplift me, because that's who they are. That's who they are. And I want to tell you a funny story. So we met 38 years ago, and about 35 years ago, a series of events happened. My son Aiden was born, and shortly after that, my family and I moved up to Durham. And shortly after that, I flew back down to Miami because John honored me by asking me to be his best man at his wedding to Barbara. And then Barbara and John moved up to this area, Asheville. And I was in that cornfield crew with John. And that was a fun time, really a fun time. But when John and Barbara first came to visit me over in Durham, we had found this really cool hand-carved crib. And my son, Aiden, who was 6 months old at the time, it was his crib. But we wanted to save that crib for John and Barbara in case they ever wanted kids, because it was a very cool thing. So they came over and visited, and I put this big bow on the crib. And when they came, it was kind of in the evening, so my son Aiden was asleep in the crib. And I walked John and Barbara in to show them, and Barbara says, "Look, John, they're giving us Aiden." And of course, my wife at the time was horrified. But I thought, Barbara had this way of just uplifting every moment. No matter what was going on. If it was a great moment, she would uplift it higher. I really miss Barbara. And this is the first time I've been here and not been able to see Barbara, but knowing that she is here. We're all very fortunate to have had Barbara in our lives, for sure. And it's an honor to be here. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am just so grateful that I walked through those doors. I'm just so grateful for that, because I could have walked in anywhere, but I walked through those doors. And I had the opportunity and the gift to be presented with John and with Barbara. You know, it takes vision to create something like this, to create an environment where people come and their lives are changed, and they make friends, and they create their lives, and they change their lives over and over again, and it's okay. And that's what we got here. And one thing that I am so appreciative of, one thing that, what? You know what I really admired and respected? There are so many things that I respected about Barbara. Let me say the one thing first, is that Barbara used to do these quarterly practitioner sessions. And I would always be so excited. I would be so ready for it. And I was always just happy to have that time just with Barbara. And more than I can say, when that quarter would come up, there'd be some issue or some challenge I would have, and I would go and I'd get ready to sit down and I'd open my mouth, and she'd say, I know this and this and this is what's going on with you. I'm like, how the hell does she know this? How does she get in my head like that? How does she know exactly what's going on with me? And she would just say, you remember who you are. You know, we came here, we do hard things, and we know who we are through all that whole process. And you get to do that too. And you get to face this and resolve it and move on. And in her special way of saying it, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she would say that over and over and over again. And it was just a treasure to have her in those moments. And I'm so grateful for that. I'll never forget those times. And the other thing that I am just blown away by and so appreciative of is that, you know, Barbara would give away everything. She did. I mean, she read that Science of Mind textbook, recorded that. Do you all remember who got one of those copies of the Science of Mind textbook that Barbara Waterhouse read so you could listen to it in your car? Yeah, you've got a disc, you've got I don't know, you got every kind of method that there was to hear Barbara's voice where she read that. And everything else that was on that website, she gave all that away to the world because that's the vision. Do you get that? Do you get what that means to just give that away? She didn't charge people for that stuff. You know, those books that are there online that people may not come across in their day-to-day browsing or whatever. They don't know those titles. They don't know those people. They don't know metaphysics. They don't know any of that. Those books that are put on that website, you can just download them and read them. And several were translated because she wanted everybody in the world to have that. She said, I want everybody to know what they're capable of. And that was Barbara. That's vision there. And John creating that platform too, being a part of that too, just doing it all together. What about a team that they made? You know, what is that? That's teamwork. And I'm just grateful to have witnessed that, to see how impeccably things are done at this center. That's a gift. You know how just seamless it all looks? Well, it's not that easy. It's hard. But they made it look easy. Barbara got up there every Sunday and she just laid it out there for the world to see, just, you know, just like it was the most natural thing in the world. And it was for her because that was her purpose. She came here with a purpose. And she lived it out loud. She did that. So I'm grateful that you created that with her and that you did the same and that we are here because of that. Thank you.
So I've been delaying this only because try not to make eye contact with John right now, because yesterday I was telling him if there's anything that's going to be hard, it's getting through it. And it's interesting. It's not a sadness of what do you got to worry about, Barbara? Not at all, you know. But when we came here 17, 18 years ago, good way to put it is probably that, my life at that particular point in time, other than an amazing marriage and kids, was like a big hairy ball of WTF. It was just a mess. Because I had just recently, in my 30s, come to realize something that had been there sitting on the side of me for a long time, like the things that had been done to me as a child, that I sort of locked off, compartmentalized, and pushed off over there and did what I could to just not think about it. And I remember, at that point, John was there with me, crying with me, and Barbara was there going, Dale, that's not who you are. Your job is to remember who you are, not to keep going back and stirring the pot. And it was, so flash forward a couple of years, and Shemaiah, our almost 12-year-old, Loretta was in the hospital, or in the room for maybe 90 seconds. And Maya comes out, Barbara shows up, and I remember Shemaiah came out in her full amniotic sac, and they had to pop that, and then they had to peel this veil back off of her face. And then all of a sudden, Shemaiah in Aramaic, it's the word heaven. And I'll give you this little piece. It's also the word for sky, but the ayah sound at the end means something that has no boundary. It has no beginning and no ending, so either heaven is everywhere or it's... So as soon as that veil was pulled back, Maya just lost it. And Barbara looked at me. She gave me this look, and I knew exactly what she was saying. And I started toning in Aramaic to Maya, and she immediately became crystal clear and locked in on my eyes. And it got really quiet in the room, just as Loretta's mother was walking in, and Barbara said, "We need to remember who we are for Shemaiah." And the nurses, her mom, all of us, our hands were held together, and Barbara went into treatment right there. And intriguingly, it was right here, Barbara asked me one day, she was like, "What's that thing that when you do that with the Aramaic Lord's Prayer?" And she was always like, kind of like, get up there, get up there. There was this kind of trans-dimensional thing that was happening through vibration. She saw that potential in me, studying Aramaic for what's now most of my life, actually. And she asked me, she called me up, she was like, "Can you come over here?" I'm like, "Okay." So I come over here, I get to the office, and she's like, "I want you to tone the Aramaic Lord's Prayer for the Christmas Eve service." And I'm like, "Okay." And then she's like, wait, there's more. She's like, she's like, "Can you just send me the prayer in Aramaic with no English? And we're going to put that in the program and not tell anybody what it is. And then we're going to put it up on the screens so that when you tone it, nobody really knows what that is." And I'm like, "Okay." So I show up that night. We were sitting over here, Loretta and I and the kids, and then there's a point where Barbara, she was over here, and she kind of waved me up. And John and Barbara, I don't know if you remember this, they kind of moved apart, and I sat between the two of them, and I had one hand in each hand. I don't know how it happens, this mystical thing. I know what it feels like. And it's like every time I go back to toning the prayer in that way, I've got John and Barbara with me. And I remember that I just started vibrating and shaking, and the chair was shaking, and they actually had to help me up onto the stage because I just lost. I remember even starting the prayer, looking out and thinking that I ended looking out. My eyes were closed, and I was actually looking up back and toward the wall over here. I had just lost all sense of that. And every time I tone that prayer, she's there. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been toning the prayer even more than I normally do, and a lot under my breath, sort of a little bit of a Godspeed. So I'd like to offer that for Barbara right now. And I'm not going to do it in English, just Aramaic. All you need to do is be open. It's going to sound a little odd if you haven't heard this before. dwashmeya nidkadash mok teate malukutok nehwed svianak ikana dwashmeya up bearea Hablan lachma desun kanan yomana washbuklan chaubein dahen Ikana daphanan shbakan lachayavein Huela telan nesinune elapatsan menbisha Metul didelaki malkuzak wahela wateshbukta la elam almin amen.
So I am going to read for you a letter sent to John from Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith, our spiritual leader, Centers for Spiritual Living. She writes, Dear John, family, and beloved Asheville community, on behalf of Centers for Spiritual Living, please know you are in our hearts during this time of transition. Words give little consolation to relieve grief, but I want you to know that all of CSL is grieving her, and we are with you this day. Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse was an icon for Centers for Spiritual Living and a teacher of teachers. Her presence has touched countless lives and will continue to do so through the students she introduced to the science of mind. Reverend Barbara was a mentor and an inspiration to everyone she met, always offering guidance and encouragement to those who came to CSL Asheville. Not many people can be described as awe-inspiring, yet her talks on Sunday morning are still viewed by thousands, continuing to touch hearts and minds across the globe. Her leadership, service, and dedication to Centers for Spiritual Living is a beautiful example of loyalty and integrity. She will be greatly missed by her colleagues and by me personally. Please take comfort in knowing that Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse and her legacy will live on through this incredible community that she and Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse visioned over 28 years ago. May you continue to expand and carry the message she brought to the world. Peace and blessings, Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith.
Thank you. Golly, so many things to say. Where do I start? Okay, well, you've all seen me cry before. This isn't new. I could tell you 1,000 different things, but most of them have to do with you, so you wouldn't be hearing anything new. So I thought, I want to tell you one old story, and I want to tell you a really new story. Barbara and I met at the Center for Positive Living, Chris, is what that's. I don't care. I pulled into 3 days after coming back from Australia, living in Australia, hiding from the world. I came home, and I was compelled to pull in the parking lot. She came out of the back. I didn't know who she was, but I said, "What science of mine?" And she told me something and told me to come on Sunday, which I did, and I never left. After being there for about 4.5 years, I had the opportunity to be ordained by Terry Cole Whitaker. Now, many of you won't know who that is, but Terry was really the icon of this movement back in the 1980s. She's the only minister in our movement that ever had a national syndicated television show on Sunday morning. And she was a model for Barbara. And when she came to town and we sat at dinner at the Fontainebleau after she had given her big presentation at our center, she said to me, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, you could ordain me into ministry." How outrageous. Who did I think I was? She said, "Get down on your knees." And she did it. She ordained me. She had the power to do it. I sat back up in my chair and I looked over at Barbara. And you know Barbara did not cry publicly. But she was closed that night. And I said, and Barbara had been in ministry for 5 years and had not been invited to be ordained. And I said, "Ask her." And so she did. And Terry said, "Come over here." So she came to her and she rubbed those beautiful curls and said, "You are ordained too." Her daughter Suzanne and Terry went back. We were going back to their room at the Fontainebleau, and Suzanne said to Terry, "Do you think Tony, Barbara's husband, knows about John and Barbara?" And Terry said, "John and Barbara don't know about John and Barbara yet, but they're about to." I called her the next morning. I said, "We have to have a party. We just got ordained." She said, "Let's go." I said, "Let's go to lunch." So she said, "Great." I picked her up, took her to a place called Savannah Moon. And we sat in that booth in that restaurant and looked at each other and went, "Oh my God." Oh my God. 2 days later, she told me she was leaving Tony. I said, "You can't do that for me." And she said, "I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for me." And she did. And it was wild and crazy, and she went and saw Edwene Gaines and her mentor, and Edwene said, "Just go tell Tony. Don't tell me." Wasn't long after that we were married. Of course, this created a real fuss in that church. And Barbara and Tony had already left, and not too long after that, I left too. And we stayed in Miami for a while. Barbara lectured at a local bookstore and did counseling, and I was working full-time on a job, and she was making more money than me. That was so perfect. What I did, I was working with a thing called End World Hunger. And what we did was we built food gardens in public housing and organized the residents to be the food garden club. And that was leadership building, and I loved it. It was fun work. And one day we were building a garden somewhere in North Miami. And there was a guy there I didn't know, but he had come to help. And at the end of the day, we're cleaning up. And we're cleaning up, and this guy comes up to me and says, I need a ride. My car isn't being repaired, and it would be great if you could give me a ride. And so I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And we figured out it wasn't very far from where we lived, so it was no big deal at all. So we're driving back across Miami, and we passed the building where the Miami church was. And the guy said, I go there. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's a great place. Yeah, they're getting their act back together after this really evil, wicked woman destroyed the community. I said, really? He said, yeah, she was a bitch. Isn't that interesting? I said, do you mind if we stop by my house before I drop you off to get your car? No. So we got at my house, we went inside, and I introduced Barbara, just Barbara, to this guy, and they had a lovely conversation, and he brought something up. I don't remember what it was. But she said, I have something you'd like. And she went right over to her bookshelf with her precious books, and she found it, and she pulled it out, and she said, this is for you. I watched that happen. So I kissed her, we got in the car, we're driving over to drop him off, and I said, so what do you think of the love of my life? He said, she's amazing. I said, she's the bitch. He didn't say another word. When we got there, he got out of the car, he was gone. So watch how you perceive people. In our co-work as ministers, our ministry, we divvied up some things. We actually divvied up some of you. I can't deal with this. I'll handle. One of the first ones of those was Cliff Rubin. She said, I got Cliff, no problem. Anyway, one of the things we divvied up was she did weddings. She was really good at weddings. And I was really good at memorial services. I loved to honor people's lives. It was just such a blessing for me. So that's how we did it. She let me run those, and she ran the weddings, and we were always happy. And that always kind of worked out. But one thing I always said at those events was that one of the least interesting things that this person did was die. I felt pretty confident that was so, that dying was just not a big deal, that it was the things they did in life that were so wonderful and so meaningful. So we knew we were getting near the end. Barbara actually had no food or water for 4 days. It was a quest. And Matt and Bridget had been there most of the time supporting me. And they were great. They were just amazing. And Beth, who you heard from. And Sarah, her CNA, who's in the room too. Where are you, Sarah? Thank you, darling. She loved you so much, both of you. You guys were amazing. But that night, Easter, there's just the two of us. And all those years of doing Native American work, carrying an eagle feather of blessing, so many people all over the world, actually, I carried that eagle feather. I'd never done a blessing on Barbara. She had her own eagle feather. She needed a blessing from me. It never even occurred to me. But somehow, that night, the feather wanted to come out. The feather wanted to come out, so I got the feather. And I touched her heart with it, and it was like time stood still. I said, I bless you for all those that you have blessed, all those people around the world that you have touched. I bless you, and I release you. You're free. And I put the feather down, and I got in bed with her, and I wrapped my arms around her. and I sang to her. I did not sing Native American songs. I sang Joe Cocker. You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hoped for and everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. And soon after that, she took her last breath. And I have to tell you, that was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Even if she was making me wrong the last time. I'm so glad she didn't leave on Friday. I'd been sitting up all night Sunday night wondering if she... We did good work here. We did. And you're proof of that. You and all those out in the world. Thank you. Thank you forever. I will stop with that. I know that the standing was really telling me you're hungry. Thank you all for being here, for loving her, for seeing her magic and her majesty and her beauty and her love. I'll be okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So we're going to...
All of you, those of you that tried to hug me before, I couldn't do it. But I'm going to go stand out there and hug every one of you that wants it, okay? And love on you. And I invite family to come and do that too. I just couldn't do it then. Thank you for loving me anyway.
So we're going to close up our time today. And I want to share something with you. It's a gift from Barbara. So I had the immense blessing of being with Barbara every week for the last year of her life. And I would crawl into bed with her, and we would just hold each other. She wasn't very mobile, so we would just lay there and hold each other, and we would talk, and I would read to her, and we would sing, and we would be silly. And she always, always requested spiritual mind treatment. And always, always, it was about peace. So today I'm going to pray us out with peace. Have a little bit more peace in your heart as you go forth. And I think this was Barbara's gift to you, to send you off and to go forth in your life, knowing more peace than you've ever known before. And remember, it's a personal gift from her to you. So we'll pray as peace, we'll bless the food, and then we'll go and break bread together and do what this center does well. So I invite you to close your eyes. And breathe into the awareness that there is just one divine presence, one divine power, one light, one love, and this one is God. It is Goddess, it is Spirit, it is divine essence, it is source. It is the fullness and the richness of life. And in the awareness of this oneness, we are all that one. We are the divine, we are the absolute, we are the pureness, we are the strength, we are the clarity. And in knowing who we are, I claim for us right here and right now, peace. Peace everlasting. Peace deep within our bones. Peace out into the ether all around us. Simply being peace. Bringing that forth, knowing that gift of the divine is peace, and it resides at the point of each and every one of us. We are the embodiment, every cell, every molecule, every thought, every word, every deed is peace unfolding for us, as us, in us. I am grateful for peace that carries us forward. I am grateful for this gift of peace, remembering we are the spark of peace. We are the fullness of peace, and we are everything in between. I am grateful for this day and this time together to honor our beloved Barbara, a woman of power, a woman of love and compassion, and a woman of peace. And in gratitude, I bless this meal that we are about to partake in. I bless all the many hands and the hearts that went to make this meal of sustenance and nurturing for each and every one of us. I am grateful for the way this community comes together to love, to bless, to heal, to grow, and to thrive, and to remember who we are. So I let this go, knowing peace is everlasting for each and every one of us, with and so it is.